Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and man, I appreciate you guys swinging by the channel and hanging out with me for a little bit. And guys, today I want to make the case why live scope addicts, these people that are just, all about live scope, they're basically like first graders and kindergartners compared to old school traditional bass anglers that fish the old school techniques. And I don't mean this to sound disrespectful, but one of the reasons I wanted to do this video, or the reason I wanted to do it, is I am tired of, there's this myth going around in bass fishing to a large degree that somehow if you fish old school techniques, that somehow you're too stupid to know and learn about technology, you're not very smart, and that somehow the dudes out there that are into this high-tech side imaging live scope, they're somehow brilliant and more smart than the old school dudes. I'm going to blow that out of the water. I'm going to explain to you guys how much more skill it takes and how much more intelligence it takes to fish and catch bass in shallow water in today's episode here. Also, guys, before we get started, guys, I want to remind you, I'll show you again this new Jamaican Boa Junior Buzzbait, guys, brand new from Megabass. They just got a shipment in at Tackle Warehouse. Guys, this is the best buzzbait I've ever seen. I used it up at Lake of the Ozarks this past weekend there. The thing sounds unbelievable. It looks unbelievable in the water. Components are second to none as far as the quality of the components. I'll put the Jamaican Boa Junior Buzzbait link in my Tackle Warehouse description in this video. They're probably not going to last very long after this video, so if you guys would like to pick up a couple, give them a try here. Man, I really like this smoke color here. It looks really natural in the water, so definitely might want to pick you some up because we're getting into the prime buzzbait season right now, so appreciate that. Okay, guys, I wanted to do this. Like I said, I'm just sort of fed up with this myth that, somehow old school dudes like myself are just stupid and we're too ignorant to know and learn about technology. And I want to explain to you guys how forward-facing sonar is for babies or for kids as far as, the skill that it takes to master this. Now let's get into this, why I feel like this. First of all, let me explain to you why fishing shallow is an art form and it takes an extreme amount of intelligence to do it, because most people have no idea about how much is involved with being good and breaking down and catching fish out of shallow water. First of all, you have this foundational, viewpoint, or not a viewpoint, but this foundational reality that when you're fishing shallow water, you have to fish to find the fish. And that's not the case when you're using forward-facing sonar. You're not fishing to find the fish. You're letting electronic technology find the fish for you. So that's like it's a different universe completely as far as the approach to fishing goes. The next to that, when you're fishing shallow, and I mean like traditional spinnerbait, jig, crankbait, shallow water targets, that type of thing, there are an unlimited amount of variables that you have to master and understand before you can actually trigger that fish into biting. Number one, like I said, you don't know if there's any fish there. So you have got to weed through this process of figuring out, number one, where the fish are going to be at before you can actually even find how to catch them. So you have to have an intimate understanding of the seasonal patterns and the seasonal movements of the bass. You have to have an intimate understanding about breaking down the lake and where the different type of structures are and the different type of water clarities are and the different type of variables that draw bass into an area or not. So you have to have a lot of background into the lake. After you figured out exactly where the fish are at or where you think their fish are at, you're speculating, because let's say, for example, you've narrowed it down to, one really good creek on the lake. Say this creek's got everything. You figured it out. You found this creek. It's got all a diversity of cover. You got docks, rocks, lay down trees, grass beds, perfect looking area. You've got bait fish moving around. You got shad flickering. You look up on the bank and you've got bluegills. The next thing you have to do is you have to figure out the mood and the personality of that bass, whether they want a moving bait, whether they want a slow bait. You got to figure out the profile of the bait. Maybe they want a small bait. Maybe they want a mid-sized bait. Maybe they want a large bait. Then after you figure out the profile of the bait, once you've narrowed it down to the lure category based upon the mood or the personality of the fish in correlation with the weather patterns that dictate those changes. So you're taking into consideration the water, the weather patterns that are currently here, the weather patterns that are on the way, the water visibility, the tint of the water, everything surrounding that. And then you have to determine the exact bait to use and the exact color. Okay, do these bass do they want a chartreuse-sided crankbait? Do they want a translucent sided crankbait? Do they want a crawdad pattern? Do they want a shad pattern? Do they want a water bait that displaces a lot of water? Do they want a bait that displaces a medium amount of water? Do they want a bait that doesn't displace any water? Do they want a slow retrieve? Do they want a slow medium retrieve? Do they want a medium stop and go retrieve? Do they want a fast retrieve? Do they want a fast stop and go retrieve? Do they want the crankbait on 12-pound test line or 20-pound test line? You know, all this type of stuff has to come into place even before you catch your first bass. Okay, so say you do narrow it down to all that. You've got the right cadence, you got the right retrieve, you got the right color, you're in the right creek. Then you have to determine how the fish are positioned on this piece of cover. You know, you come up to a lay down tree or you come up to a dock or something like that. Where are these fish going to be? Are they up on the bank of that tree? Are they midway down there? Are they suspended on the outside of the tree? Are they on the big trunk of the tree rolling down the water? Or are they on the little bitty limbs? You know, are they on the up current side or the down current side? What is the current? Is the current 1 mile an hour, 2 mile an hour, 3 mile an hour? In correlation with that, you know, what is the angle of the bank? All this stuff you have to internalize before you actually make your presentation. So once you figured out where that is, you make your presentation, and then you have to go through the whole process of, you know, setting the hook on the fish, you know, repositioning the boat, and it just goes on and on. But you can understand, you can get a gist of what I'm talking about, and you can relate this to every lure category: worms, jigs, plastic worms, shaky heads, whatever. Okay, so literally you've got thousands, or at least 1,000 different controlled and uncontrolled variables that you're taking into consideration when you're shallow water fishing. If you're a live scoper, the only thing you're doing, number one, you don't care about the seasonal patterns. The seasonal patterns and the mood of the fish are irrelevant. You basically go into, you know, what you consider a high percentage area. It could be main lake point, or it could be a creek, or it could be a ditch or something like that. You turn your forward-facing sonar on, and you sit there and hold your rod, and you scope around all over the boat. Got that trolling motor on fast, you're scoping around until you see a fish. That's all you're doing. You're letting the electronic technology do every bit of work for you. You don't have any clue of what's going on in the world around you. You don't even know if there's a bird in the tree above you, because you're just sitting there glued at that screen. Every bit of every bit of success that you're about to have or not have is totally reliant upon what you're seeing on that screen. And then when you finally do see a fish on the screen, you're relying on that technology to figure out how to manipulate and trigger that strike. You're not doing that through fishing. You're actually watching that fish react to your bait, and you're making adjustments on how to catch that fish based upon their reaction to the bait that you're seeing on that real imaging technology. It's no different than, like, this is why I call it a first grader technique. It's no different than your first grade teacher gives you a coloring book, and you've got, you know, say you've got a picture of a house there. So you color in the lines of the house with your coloring book. They've already showed you what the house is. And then if you're a shallow water fisherman, you have to draw the house completely, and you have to color the house in out of your own creativity. You don't have any creativity involved with that first grade teacher showing you, you know, the house, and you just color the lines in. That's why it takes more intelligence, it takes more skill, it takes more discipline, it takes more dedication, it takes more focus to be a shallow water angler than it does fishing offshore with forward-facing sonar or advanced technology. I'll argue that with anybody out there. So the point of the video, guys, is I just want to let everybody know that stop trying to equate intelligence with your ability to use or not use advanced technology, advanced electronic technology. Advanced electronic technology is for babies. It's for kindergartners, it's for first graders, it's for people that don't have the skill or the time under their belt to learn traditional bass fishing techniques. And if you're a master at shallow water and you understand fish movement, mood, behavior, and how to trigger strikes, you are at a PhD level compared to the live scoper that's in kindergartner. So I wouldn't have done the video, guys, if I don't keep hearing about all this stuff about how stupid guys like myself are because we can't figure out how to use forward-facing sonar. It's a bunch of bullshit. It is. So if you're a shallow water angler, guys, and you've mastered that technique, you know, you should be proud of your accomplishment, because it's an accomplishment that takes a lifetime of dedication to learn. There's no easy route to it. There's no quick fix to it. You have to put in the dirt time. So anyway, guys, hope everybody's having a good day, and we'll check in later.